In his prime, DeMarcus Cousins was one of the most dominant players in the entire NBA. Offensively, Boogie was everything you could possibly want from a modern big. He scored at will around the basket, he made plays for his teammates, he could step back and knock down the three. He was, and still should be, one of the NBA's best players. He was also one of the most controversial, with several hard fouls, ejections, and direct callouts to members of the media. Even at his best, no one was really sure if DeMarcus Cousins was able to lead a team to the playoffs, let alone a championship. And now, at just the age of 30, DeMarcus is a mere bench player for the Los Angeles Clippers and has not at all approached the all-star level of play that was once a given out of him for years, which has to beg the question, what happened? Well, as you're about to find out, the complicated career of DeMarcus Cousins goes far beyond just his injuries, and today we're going to look at it all. We're going to look at his mindset, the meltdowns, the front office mistakes, and the conspiracies that turned what once looked like a potential Hall of Fame career into what can only be described as a disappointment. So what's up guys, Mike here, and quickly, I'm giving away a PS5 or Xbox Series X to one person who is subscribed to my channel and has my post notifications turned on once we hit 1.7 million subscribers. So don't miss out, it's free, subscribe and enter. By the way, if you're already subscribed, just make sure you have post notifications on and you will also be entered. You don't have to unsubscribe and then subscribe again, that does not do anything. Trust me, you're good. Also, please like this video, it helps me out a ton with YouTube's algorithm, and with that said, we're here to talk about what went wrong with DeMarcus Cousins, but before we get into that, I want to throw out a staggering statistic to you. Between their 4th and 7th seasons in the NBA, only 10 players in history have averaged 25 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 assists per game. As you can see on your screen in front of you, the list of these 10 players is star-studded, and in fact, the only 2 players not in the Hall of Fame are Giannis, who with his 2 MVPs is certainly headed there, and of course, DeMarcus Cousins. That is how great DeMarcus was in his absolute prime, before injuries hit him and at this point in time derailed his career. And we'll get into those injuries and the future of DeMarcus Cousins and his career, because there is more than meets the eye there. In fact, there is a conspiracy that states that DeMarcus basically gave no effort on the Rockets to get out of there, and you would be surprised at the statistical evidence that is there for that theory. But for now, let's talk about the 7 years before the injuries. Let's talk about what really ruined DeMarcus Cousins' career, because with that in mind, it is very important to note one hard truth in the NBA. A player does not get to control the team that drafts him, and because of this, for that player's first 7 or so seasons, that same player is not fully in control of his career. Just look at Devin Booker. He played at an all-star level for years, but is just now fully getting appreciated in his 6th season because finally he has a legitimate team around him, and as of now, at the time of this video, he's in the Western Conference Finals and can very well win the NBA championship this year. Having said this, we have the tragic case of where DeMarcus Cousins was drafted, because when we look at the team that selected him, the Sacramento Kings, we find that DeMarcus was put in the worst situation imaginable. Seriously, the Kings front office was more than incompetent during Cousins' time with the team. I would go as far as to say it seemed like they were purposely ruining his career. I say this because from 2011 to 2017, DeMarcus's entire time in Sacramento, the Kings never made the playoffs, and in that span, DeMarcus himself made 3 All-Star games and was 2nd team All-NBA in his final 2 seasons with Sacramento. Making 2nd team All-NBA on a non-playoff team is an extremely hard feat to pull off, but DeMarcus was just that good. So how did this team fail? Well, to fully show you just how bad this situation was, we're going to go season by season here. So to start off, in the 2010 draft, the Sacramento Kings do make a great decision by drafting DeMarcus Cousins with the 5th pick. That would prove to be a rarity, as in the 2011 draft, Sacramento originally had the 7th pick, but they traded down to take Jimmer Fredette with the 10th pick instead of Kemba Walker, who went 9th, Klay Thompson, who went 11th, or Kawhi Leonard, who went 15th. The Kings would end up cutting Jimmer in just his 3rd season. With that in mind, in this draft, the Kings did draft Isaiah Thomas with the 60th pick, which was an absolute steal, but we'll get to Isaiah because the Kings messed up that situation as well. Now in the 2012 draft, the Kings drafted Thomas Robinson Robinson, a big man, with the 5th pick right before Damian Lillard, who went 6th. Just imagine that for a second. We could have watched DeMarcus Cousins and Damian Lillard grow up as young players and enter their primes together. If Sacramento was at all competent, they would have taken Damian Lillard. They did not need another big man in Thomas Robinson, but instead, they took Robinson and ended up trading him during his rookie season for Cole Aldridge, Tony Douglas, and Patrick Patterson. So already headed into the 2013 draft, the Kings could have had DeMarcus and Dame. Regardless of that, in 2013, the Kings took Ben McLemore over better choices such as Kentavious Caldwell-Pope or CJ McCollum. They also could have had Giannis, but no one saw that coming, so I don't blame them there. However, in these 3 drafts alone, the Kings could have had some combination of Kemba Walker, Klay Thompson, Kawhi Leonard, Damian Lillard, or CJ McCollum. Yikes. Fast forward to the 2014 draft and we can see why the Kings are so incompetent, because they take Nick Stauskas with the number 8 pick, with the Kings owner famously saying that Nick shoots like Steph and he's big like Klay. Stauskas would spend 1 season with the Kings, averaged 4.4 points per game, and then, wouldn't you know it, was traded. Oh, and by the way, the next shooting guard selected was Zach LaVine. Now, in the 2014 offseason, somehow things get even worse because the Kings refused to sign Isaiah Thomas because they wanted a real passing point guard, and so they instead traded Isaiah for Alex Oriaki, who never played a single second in the NBA, and also chose to sign Darren Collison to replace Isaiah Thomas. Darren would be gone in just 3 seasons, while Isaiah would make the All-Star team just 2 seasons later and was 5th in MVP voting in 2017. Fast forward to the 2014 season, the Kings fired coach Mike Malone, the only coach that DeMarcus Cousins really liked during his time with the Kings, and as we all know, Mike Malone is the current coach of the Nuggets and has led them to pretty good success. Replacing Mike Malone was a 63-year-old George Karl who retired after 2 bad seasons in Sacramento, and on his podcast The Low Post, Zach Lowe basically implied George Karl was kind of losing it by questioning some of his memories. Finishing this off, in the 2015 draft, the Kings would draft center Willie Cauley-Stein at number 6. As we all know, DeMarcus Cousins is a center, but to be fair, a lot of teams did miss in this draft. However, the Kings needed a wing, and the first shooting guard selected after pick number 6 was Devin Booker, so to say all of the Kings' bad decisions are adding up at this point is an understatement. And the 2016 draft was more of the same. The Kings made another horrible decision, but at this point, it was all over. Sacramento needed to move on from DeMarcus, and so in 2017, they traded him to the New Orleans Pelicans, where immediately DeMarcus and Anthony Davis showed the potential to be a real force to be reckoned with in the Western Conference. Finally playing on a competent team, the Pelicans began the 2018 season with a 27-21 record and actually won 7 out of their last 8 games before.
So it looks bad, done for the season.
This is a devastating injury. I cannot explain enough.
He had torn his Achilles and would never play for the Pelicans again, which was a complete shame because finally, this was his chance. New Orleans was rolling. They continued to play well without him and reached the second round of the 2018 NBA playoffs, but DeMarcus had still never played in an NBA playoff game, which to me is the real tragedy of this story. Because is DeMarcus Cousins a hot-headed player? Sure. The numbers don't lie. Between 2014 and 2016, DeMarcus Cousins led the NBA in technical fouls every single season. And between 2012 and 2018, he was top 5 in every single season. So yes, there were certainly times when the man let his emotions get the best of him. When he was finally playing on a good enough team, DeMarcus was a winning player. It's not his fault that the Kings front office was just a complete mess. In an alternate universe, DeMarcus would have spent his early years into his prime playing with Damian Lillard, and that pair would have been unstoppable on the offensive end. Then, if you surround them with the right role players, or if you just draft better, seriously, this team could have had DeMarcus and Dame with either CJ McCollum or Klay Thompson. You would have had a title contender while DeMarcus was in his absolute prime. Instead, Boogie never got the chance to play in the playoffs until his run with the Golden State Warriors, where again, injuries got the best of him. DeMarcus would suffer a torn quad in the second round, and while he did get a chance to play in the NBA Finals, he was not the same player and would continue to be cursed by injuries, as after signing with the Lakers, DeMarcus would tear his ACL in a pickup game before ever playing a real game with the team. Which leads us to the conspiracy conspiracy here, because some say that after signing with the Rockets in the 2021 season, DeMarcus purposely gave no effort in order to be waived and in order to sign with a contender. This certainly seems like a stretch at first, but when we look at his per 36 numbers this season, things actually get pretty confusing. Blake Griffin gave no effort in Detroit and then had a very quick resurgence in Brooklyn, and offensively for the Clippers, DeMarcus Cousins has had a similar situation. With Houston per 36 minutes, DeMarcus shot around 38% from the field and averaged 17.1 points and 13.6 rebounds per game. Part of the reason for this was he shot an absurd 8.3 3-point attempts a night per 36 minutes, giving, in my opinion, more credit to the potential that he really wasn't giving his all out there and instead was settling for jumpers. With the Clippers playing more of his normal game, Cuz shot 54% from the field during the regular season, a massive jump from the 38% he shot in Houston, and averaged 21.7 points and 12.5 rebounds per 36 minutes with an actually solid PER of 20.3. So offensively, the talent is still there. However, defensively, Cousins has had a huge problem, as the main reason he is not getting consistent minutes with the Clippers is that simply Boogie has been a complete liability on the defensive end of the floor. In the playoffs, when he's gotten a chance, DeMarcus has averaged an awesome 29.6 points and 14.1 rebounds per game per 36 minutes. However, he's also averaging 12.9 fouls per 36 minutes, which is horrendous. So to sum this all up, I truly believe in an alternate universe. If he was drafted by a better franchise, DeMarcus Cousins could have established a near Hall of Fame career before his injuries even began to pop up. The talent was always there, and even playing on losing teams, he was named second team All-NBA twice, which is huge. To me, that means personally, I blame the Sacramento Kings of old for failing to surround DeMarcus with talent, and I also think it's a complete shame that he got injured when he was finally put on a winning basketball team. The only silver lining here is that DeMarcus is only 30 years old. If he's able to commit himself more on the defensive end, well then, he does still have the offensive talent to become a real piece for a high-end team in the coming years. Whether that will happen or not, though, we will soon find out. I do know personally, I love Boogie. I hope the best for him, so I hope he's able to bounce back. But with all that said, guys, thank you for watching today's video. If you are new to the channel, remember, subscribe and turn on post notifications, because if you subscribe and turn on post notifications, you are entering into my giveaway to win a PS5 or an Xbox Series X. All it takes is a few clicks of a button. It's absolutely free, so subscribe because I cannot wait to see which one of you wins. Also, please make sure to like this video. It does help me out a ton, and if you're already subscribed, thank you so much for supporting. You're awesome. We all know it, and as always, have an awesome day, guys, and cue that music. If you're still here while the music is cued, here are two videos I think you are definitely going to enjoy. Make sure to click on one of them. Again, I know you're gonna love it, and other than that, have a great day and peace.